Hundreds of advocates and influencers will gather today on the steps of the United States Capitol. It's all for an uplifting rally ahead of congressional meetings where members will hear from those directly affected by HIV, AIDS, and proposed health care legislation. Laela Wilding, granddaughter of Elizabeth Taylor and ambassador of the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, and Daniel Driffin, co-founder of Thrives SS Inc., join us now with more on this, and we welcome you guys here to the show this morning for a very important topic. And let's begin with what AIDSWATCH is for people that may not know what that is.
Okay, thank you for asking. AIDSWATCH is an annual event. It takes place here in D.C. This brings together constituents from all across the country, typically HIV-positive people and their allies. We take to the Hill, which is what we'll be doing later today, to educate our Congress about the issues that are important to people living with HIV.
And this is an event that happens every single year, but for many people, it's more important this year more than ever. And why is that?
Yeah, just being cognizant of everything that occurred in the news. The fact that, the Affordable Health Care Act was defeated this past Friday, and this allowed millions of people living with HIV to stay on their health care insurance. So this is really why 600 plus people attended this year.
There is fear that people living with HIV could be affected by new legislation. Is that correct?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And the wonderful thing that happened on Friday that people are celebrating at AIDSWATCH is that they still have the Affordable Health Care Act in place. And that is a great relief to many people with HIV because that has allowed thousands of HIV-positive people to receive insurance and therefore much needed health care.
Exactly. People can live very long, healthy, normal lives with HIV, but they have to be on the medication that is provided for them. So is there a fear that that treatment could be lost?
Yeah, without healthcare coverage, we definitely see that access to medications decrease. So if an individual stay on Medicaid, stay on the Affordable Care Act, they will, in essence, have their medication, thus making them healthier and living a lot longer. And that's the most important aspect.
Laela, your grandmother was Elizabeth Taylor. She was an advocate for people living with HIV and AIDS long before anybody else ever was. What was it like for you to see her growing up, and why are you still so involved in the organization?
Well, our family is very proud of the advocacy work that our grandmother did. And many of my cousins and my siblings and I are involved with the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation. She was the most shining example of what an advocate can do. And because she's no longer with us, it's important to us to carry on her legacy. And her work came from the heart. And that's why it was so important to us, because it comes from our hearts too. So caring for and speaking for the marginalized people who are HIV positive is absolutely important to our foundation and our family.
You'll be talking also today, educating Congress on criminalization of HIV as well, which I really want people at home to pay attention to this. They may not know anything about this. In fact, before sitting down, I didn't know about this.
Well, that's exactly why we want to talk about it, because when people learn that there are 32 states in the U.S. that have laws that specifically criminalize people for being HIV positive, I think most people are outraged to hear this, yes, particularly because the laws do not keep up with science.
Yes.
So, for example, if someone were to spit on somebody else and they were HIV positive, they could be put in jail for spitting on them, even though there is scientific proof that you cannot transmit the disease via saliva.
Exactly right. It makes no sense at all. And especially when you look at cases in the Deep South, that occurs. There's people in jail in South Carolina, in Georgia, currently for, non-transmittable acts of HIV.
For long sentences?
20 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shocking to me.
Yeah.
In fact, the U.S. has the worst record for prosecuting people with HIV, second to Russia, and our sentences are longer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the work you're doing today. Where can people go to find out more information about both your organizations?
Well, you know, start with AIDS United, start with AIDSWATCH. I'm from the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, and we have a lot of great information on our website.
And you can visit us at thriveassess.com.
Wow, a lot of work still to be done even after all the advancements
That's right.
we've had. Thank you guys for your time.